The Chief Minister, the government, the then Governor and the Attorney General are known collectively as the government parties in this inquiry. They've been represented by Sir Peter Caruana KC, whose overarching message in his final submissions was that Ian McGrail knew the Governor would call for his resignation and therefore chose to retire early because he suspected he would lose his pension if he was sacked.
He believed, importantly, that had he not sought early retirement, there was a very real risk that the Governor would call publicly for his resignation under Section 13, and he was wrongly concerned, wrongly but understandably, I suppose, concerned that if the Governor sacked him, as opposed to him retiring, he may lose his pension or might otherwise adversely be affected in respect of his pension rights.
Sir Peter said the entirety of the Gibraltar Police Authority had unanimously reached the same decision, that the Commissioner's position was untenable, which defeated the argument that Chairman Joey Brito was malleable.
The fact that he helped them draft the letter doesn't make him a party to the decision, it doesn't assault the independence of the decision, and it certainly, still less, does it make him a participant in the decision as submitted on behalf of Mr. McGrail.
Sir Peter Caruana said the then Governor, Nick Pyle, was acting in accordance with his own views and reporting to the Foreign Office, who have the UK responsibility to maintain good governance in Gibraltar. He said it was simply not plausible to suggest he'd been manipulated by the Chief Minister, and this was the evidence relied upon by Ian McGrail's lawyers to attempt to prove he was pushed out of office.
And you just cannot reconcile the view that he wasn't lying with the view that he was being manipulated. Because if he was being manipulated and acting in accordance with the Chief Minister's view but not his own, all of these things that he says on oath, that he said, the initiatives that he took, the statements of his position that he explained to the GPA, that he explained to the Chief Minister, that he reported to London, all of these things would necessarily be sworn untruths and inconsistent with the case that he has not been lying.
Sir Peter said it was irrational to suggest there was a conspiracy to remove the Commissioner in order to halt Operation Delhi, the investigation in which his friend and mentor, James Levy KC, was a suspect. He said the operation continued after Mr. McGrail's departure, and the investigation came to its natural conclusion.
As you know, sir, very serious allegations have been made by and on behalf of Mr. McGrail that he was forced out of his post because he had executed a search warrant against a friend of the Chief Minister in a brazen act of corruption designed to protect the personal and political interests of the Chief Minister and other powerful figures. This very serious allegation is based on two patently false pillars. First, that it was the Chief Minister who forced Mr. McGrail out of office. It was not. Second, that it was done to protect the personal interests of the Chief Minister and Mr. Levy. This is untrue. It is a wild and irresponsible allegation, unsupported by evidence, and sustained only by the speculative innuendo and hyperbole used to construct his own self-serving case narrative. As to the claim that it was done to protect the personal interests of the Chief Minister and Mr. Levy, the Chief Minister took no steps whatsoever to prevent the RGP from executing the search warrant, reviewing the contents of Mr. Levy's devices, or conducting their investigation of him. Removing Mr. McGrail from office would not prevent the RGP from doing anything. He was not involved in the investigation. He was not making the decisions in relation to the investigation of Mr. Levy. Those who were responsible for the investigation would remain free to do as they pleased, as in fact they did.
He said police officers went to execute the warrant on Mr. Levy's office and home, but made their own decision not to follow through, and it was completely mischievous to link the decision to any interference. Sir Peter said the accusation that communications with James Levy and his legal team amounted to interference were unfounded, and said Mr. Picardo was entitled to be sympathetic to a close personal friend. In any case, he said, the appropriateness of this behaviour was not an issue for this inquiry. He said it was whether this amounted to interference with a criminal investigation. The government lawyer said the Attorney General was adamant nothing had happened in the April meetings which could have been construed as interference. and maintained that both Mr. McGrail and the investigating superintendent, Paul Richardson, confirmed this in their evidence. Sir Peter said the Commissioner intentionally misled the Governor as to the location of the death at sea through evasiveness and lack of candour, and argued it was his duty to provide the best available information to him.